Hello folks, LA Little here with TA Today, bringing you neoclassical technical analysis on a regular basis, giving you trading ideas, setups, and thoughts about where this market is and where it's going. Let's get into it. Hey folks, good morning. LA here. We're going to talk about uranium today. Is it on the cusp of taking off again? That's really the question. I watch this like a hawk. Largest investments are in uranium. And so I'm looking at it and asking myself that question. Let's tackle that and see what we think. And to do that, I've got the SRUUF, which is the Uranium Trust, the Sprott Trust, that's listed on the U.S. markets. And what it's showing is that we're not quite there. And what I mean by that is we've got I've got the retest regen zones up, so this is a bearish retest regen. In other words, we broke down, right? Now we're trying to come back in and retest that area. You got a swing point high here, right? Volume's kind of sparse, it comes and goes on this particular contract. But if we were to get over the swing point high, then things would change. Now, realize there's the influence of the dollar on this. When the dollar is stronger or weaker, you get a different effect. I think that's part of what's happening here. And what I mean by that is the dollar being stronger, puts a little bit more pressure on this, and we'll see that in the u.un here in a second. If we look at the weekly chart, right? So going back to this, we're still downtrend, right? It hasn't changed. We don't have a change in trend yet. We need to get over a swing point high to change the trend. We're getting extended. This is the thing I've been watching. And so as we get extended, the question is are we going to see this thing flip around and go back the other way? That's typically what happens. So far, we've maintained sideways in terms of trend here, right? We haven't broken down and broken to a bearish trend. That's positive. It's also positive, when you look at this, it's also positive that we've held so far this swing point low. Again, that would be where the trend change takes place. And so, so far, all of that's positive. Of course, the other positive is you had a nice buildup in volume as you went up and set a high. So there's volume. It's not exactly at the high, but there's volume bars towards the top. Now, if I go over to the monthly and I just draw a line across here, you can see there's volume on this high. There's volume on these highs. And so what you really want to see, after a big decline, nice run, a decline, you want to see this gather itself, right, and make another run, which would make new highs. So we're not there yet, but, so far everything still looks fine longer term. We just got to work off this short-term problem. Let's go to the u.un, where we see a slightly different picture. And here you can see the swing point high has been broken over. And that's a good thing, right? That's exactly what you want. Now, this was done on Friday, and so the volume was very small, right? So we're going to have to see if we get some follow through here. And the key thing is now to break this bearish retest regen. The trend, when it's heading this way, it's tough to change. And what you got to do is get follow through. You had a nice big spike up, hammer reversal type signal, a little bit of follow through, another handle. You got long tails underneath here, right? All that's good stuff. Over on the weekly, it's not quite there. You've got a bullish retest regen. We're sideways, right? But we need to get back over a swing point high to change trend. And over here, we're still holding the bullish retest regen as well on the monthly. We're not extended, right? A little bit extended on the monthly, but as you could see in my research that I did years ago in the book, Trend Trading Setups, this can get quite extended. and it just doesn't seem to matter. What we don't have, and what I like, is we don't have bearish ABCDs that are activated. We have this one that's activated is the only one. 2763 is the target, and that wouldn't quite get us to where we need to go, right? So, right now we're still trying to make the turn, promising signs. We need some follow through. That's really where we stand. So taking a look at Cameco. Cameco, of course, is the biggest of the big. The problem is it has this sort of an H going here. If you look at it, it just turns sideways on a break of this swing point low. It's still in a bullish retest region, big volume bar on that bar. So, long term, you look at it, I mean, it's not an issue on these time frames yet. This is a problem. Looks like it's going to try and do a full retest regen. You got another swing point low here. It's going to test potentially. Extended on the long term, but like I said, that can go on for a long period of time. The sector itself is supporting, and you kind of have that weakness on the short term in the index. So overall, it's behaving okay, but short term still has problems. The one I really want to point out is one that I picked up from the X postings. Uranium, I think is the tag is @ uranium, is GLO. And let's take a look at this one together. And the reason I want to call your attention to it is this particular stock is showing a lot of relative strength to everything else. I mean, if you look at it, it's trying to break out on a weekly. It's got this nice uptrend going along on the monthly. Of course, this thing had sold off huge, right? So that's good and bad. Bad in that sense that something was wrong, but good in the sense that if you go where all the volume is, there's one more volume bar that's up here. But after that, most of them are gone until you get way up to the top. So you've kind of got this, what you'd like to see, which is sort of a rounding type bottom that's taking place. And the relative strength is what really attracts me. If I look at it on a daily time frame, you got bullish retest regens, one of which hasn't been tested, which, we're only 3 bars up. But if this, goes 3 more bars and then comes back into this, then that's going to be a pretty sweet buy area on this particular stock. It is extended here, so what you'd like to see is see it go sideways for a little bit, set a low up here somewhere, right, that can get broken, reset this, right, and then take the move up. Now, the bearish trend, if this holds, is going to get flipped to a bullish trend, right, because you're going to break 2 swing point highs. I like this setup a lot. I like the way this particular stock, when I look through all of them, this one is the most interesting right now of the ones I'm watching. And, you got ABCD structures that point up to as high as 748 here that are confirmed already. So if I'm looking at a stock, it's not a penny stock. It's got a long way to go in terms of its trend potentially. This is a nice little setup, and I like the way this looks. The other stocks, they're all just spinning right now. I don't see anything. They're all like Cameco that we just looked at, right? Short term, very negative. Long term, intermediate term, most of them are fine. But they need a turn. They need to change. They need a trend change. It's going to come at some point. You don't know where. What I do like, u.un starting to show that it's trying to turn. SRUUF, I'd like to see it do the same, even with the dollar currency impact. And then you've got some relative strength in some of these, and this particular one is very interesting. Hey, have yourself a great one. Give me a like and do subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.